Saudi Arabia is building a city that looks like something straight out of a science fiction film. A futuristic city designed in the shape of a line. This is Saudi Arabia's Line Project, also known as Neom Future City. In the coming years, the world may witness a mega project on a scale never seen before. And Neom is not just massive, it is also considered one of the most expensive construction projects ever planned. According to some estimates, the total cost of building it could reach up to $1 trillion. Saudi Arabia claims that by 2045, this futuristic city could be ready. Two 500-meter-tall skyscrapers are planned to be built parallel to each other, stretching across 170 kilometers of the Saudi desert. A city where nearly 9 million people could live inside a giant structure covered with glass. But is it really possible? What are the advantages and disadvantages of this line city? Is Saudi Arabia making a mistake by putting everything at stake to save its declining economy? And if, for some reason, this Neom project fails, then what will Saudi Arabia have left? More importantly, what impact could such a massive project have on the rest of the world? Whenever Saudi Arabia is mentioned, two things usually come to mind first: desert and oil. Economically, Saudi Arabia has the largest economy in the Middle East and the 18th largest economy in the world. But the reality is that a large part of its economy has traditionally depended on oil. Petroleum has been its major export, and Saudi Arabia is one of the largest exporters of petroleum in the world. However, as the world is gradually trying to reduce its dependence on oil, Saudi Arabia has become increasingly interested in diversifying its economy. Other countries in the region, such as the United Arab Emirates, had already begun taking similar steps years ago. This is one of the reasons why Dubai was developed into a major global tourism hub. Similarly, Saudi Arabia introduced its ambitious plan called Saudi Vision 2030. One of the major goals of this vision is the development of Neom, a futuristic smart city. To make this vision a reality, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman designated a massive area of land for the development of the Neom Project. The Line Project was announced on January 10, 2021. At that time, many people doubted whether it would ever actually be built. To many, it looked like nothing more than a futuristic imagination. But if you look at satellite images today, the work has already begun. At the exact location that was announced, a massive under-construction line can now clearly be seen. The project is planned to stretch up to 170 kilometers in length, while its width will be only 200 meters. The height of Neom has been planned at around 500 meters. Two 500-meter-tall skyscrapers will extend across the entire 170-kilometer distance. The project will begin from the Gulf of Aqaba in western Saudi Arabia and will stretch 170 kilometers eastward in the form of a straight line. This entire city will exist between two giant skyscrapers, designed in a linear form and covered with mirrored exteriors. But why build a city in the shape of a line? The main idea is to minimize damage to the surrounding natural landscape. The Line Project aims to achieve this by keeping its width limited to only 200 meters. If you calculate it, 170 kilometers by 200 meters gives an area of only 34 square kilometers. Yet according to its developers, nearly 9 million people could live here. That is roughly the population of New York City, but within an area almost 20 times smaller. As a result, the city's overall footprint would remain extremely small. Multiple layers have been planned inside this city if you look at it vertically, allowing people to move in 3 dimensions: up, down, and sideways. Its developers claim that Neom will run entirely on 100% renewable energy. Solar, wind, and hydrogen-based power sources are expected to power the city. There will be no roads and no cars inside the city. Since it is designed as a 170-kilometer-long line, a high-speed transportation system will connect one end of the city to the other. The developers also claim that everything people need in their daily lives will be available within a 5-minute walking distance. Climate control systems are also planned so that a stable and comfortable environment can be maintained inside, even when temperatures outside become extremely hot. A Neom Bay airport is also planned near the city. Its location has been chosen strategically because nearly 40% of the world's population can be reached within 6 hours of travel. This is due to Saudi Arabia's position between Europe, Asia, and Africa, giving it a central geographic advantage. The developers further claim that artificial intelligence will be seamlessly integrated into both personal and commercial life. Systems will collect and analyze data, allowing services to be personalized and tailored to the needs of each individual. The initial plan was to complete Neom by 2030, and around $500 billion was allocated for the project. However, some reports suggest that the project may not even be completed by 2050. And if that happens, the overall cost could rise even further. Because of this, some estimates suggest that the total cost of the project could eventually reach nearly $1 trillion. It is also claimed that traveling across this 170-kilometer-long city would take only 20 minutes from one end to the other. This would require travel speeds of more than 500 kilometers per hour. But today, there are still major questions surrounding this claim. No one has ever built a 500-meter-tall mirrored structure stretching continuously for 170 kilometers. Theoretically, it may be possible, but practically, nobody knows what kinds of engineering challenges could appear during construction, especially when such a structure extends in a single direction for such an enormous distance. Even the purpose of these massive mirrored exteriors has not been completely explained. Looking at it now, many people believe that they are mainly there for aesthetics, to give the project a futuristic and visually impressive appearance. So far, no major practical purpose for the outer mirrored design has been clearly presented. The third concern is the environment. Although the developers claim that the project will have minimal impact on nature, that is one of the reasons why it is being designed in a straight line. But another question arises here. What impact could a massive mirrored structure have on wildlife movement? Many experts believe that it could become dangerous for migratory birds. Along with that, creating a continuous wall stretching for such a long distance with very limited pathways from one side to the other could also interfere with the movement and migration of land animals. On top of this, many people have criticized the project's claims of being highly sustainable and producing zero carbon emissions, because building two massive 500-meter-tall structures covered in glass and stretching across such an enormous distance would require an extraordinary amount of construction materials. Critics argue that achieving this while maintaining a low carbon footprint would be extremely difficult. Then come the architectural challenges. It is true that the design of this linear city could save a large amount of land area, but in many ways, it could also create new inefficiencies. Take transportation as an example. If the entire city exists in a straight line and people depend mainly on one transportation network to move from one place to another, then all 9 million residents would be relying on the same system, which means that if a problem occurs at any point along this 170-kilometer route, transportation across the entire city could be affected. Such a single point of failure could become a major risk for a city designed in this way. According to Neom's claims, the line is a planned linear city, which is why it is believed to have several advantages. In traditional cities, a significant amount of resources can be wasted because of unplanned expansion and scattered infrastructure. But in a linear city, where everything is carefully planned and organized, resource loss is expected to be much lower. This could also reduce operating costs. But this raises an important question. If linear cities offer so many advantages, then why are projects like Neom not being built all around the world? The reality is that the idea of a linear city is not new at all. In fact, this concept is very old and has even been implemented before. However, in practice, it has not always worked the way people originally imagined. In the 19th century, a planned linear city was built in a district of Madrid. It was called Ciudad Lineal. Its width was around 400 meters, almost double the width planned for Neom, and it was originally designed to stretch up to 50 kilometers. However, only about 5 kilometers of it were actually constructed. The idea was to gradually expand it over time by adding more sections and extending its length. But if you look at the situation today, you may be surprised to learn that finding this linear city in Madrid has become extremely difficult. This is that same 5-kilometer stretch. Over time, the surrounding city expanded and completely absorbed it, and this is where one of the biggest problems with linear cities begins to appear. Many of the advantages of linear cities mainly benefit governments. They can be easier to organize, manage, and operate with lower infrastructure costs. But for the people living inside them, the situation can be different, and perhaps most importantly, no matter how long a linear city becomes, it still remains dependent on the outside world. To meet everyday needs, goods and resources still have to come from outside the city. Naturally, these supplies enter through the entry and exit points. As a result, new organic cities and settlements begin to grow around these points, and over time, they slowly start to disrupt the original structure of the linear city itself. Similar proposals for linear cities were made in several other countries besides Madrid, but many of them were either never completed or were cancelled before construction could even begin. So, now the question arises, despite knowing all these challenges, why did Saudi Arabia decide to invest in a project that could eventually cost up to $1 trillion? And even if all these engineering, environmental, and architectural challenges are somehow overcome, one final question still remains. Do people even want to live in a place like this? Imagine spending your entire day inside such a city, completely separated from the outside world. You would constantly be living inside an artificial environment. If you wanted to step outside and enjoy open spaces, natural surroundings, or fresh views, there might be very little of that available. And whenever you look around, all you may see is an endless wall of mirrored structures stretching into the distance. On top of that, concerns have also been raised about privacy. With advanced technology and artificial intelligence deeply integrated into daily life, many people worry that constant data collection and monitoring could become part of the system. To some, it may sound less like a city designed for humans and more like something straight out of a science fiction dystopian world. So, what do you think? Would you want to live in a city like this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more documentary video like this.